All right, bang. Today is Tuesday. It is September 19th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here with Chief as always. Chief, how are you?
I'm doing better.
Doing better.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah. It was a long weekend.
Yeah.
A slog.
Yeah. No,
How are you? You have some energy?
Yeah. I mean, we can't just like sit here and we record these on Monday, so it's always like Bears Mondays now, but I guess we can't just sit here and
fucking mope.
mope and dwell on this piece of shit gift we were given.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said gift.
Well, it's a trial.
Yeah.
It's a character builder. You know, we had our guy in here. He was saying about how he was a Browns fan and then he just like gave up and he's a fan. I can't remember who he jumped on. Maybe it was even the Bears. But like he grew up in Ohio and I remember like I like him now, but he told me that probably 3-4 years ago and I was like, well, I don't trust this guy. Because it was, how can you trust a guy who just jumps ship when the time
jumps. Yeah, no, I feel you.
So we're just gotta hunker down.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all you can do.
Yep,
that's all you can do. Today's topic, if you had been listening to the show for the last 5 years or so, you knew what was coming, right?
You think so?
Yeah, like this is.
I mean, this storm of the internet.
It's a storm of the internet, correct?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's just like shit that we get into every Tuesday.
Yeah. It also, so we're talking about the Roman Empire, and this is on the back of the trend of how girlfriends girls asking their husbands, boyfriends, fathers, grandfathers, how much and how often they think about the Roman Empire. And it made me feel good because I sit over here and you make me feel like a fucking weirdo for thinking about stuff all the time, all this history stuff.
Oh, like I don't get that same fucking... Well, not when it comes to history, but I get that same judgment as well.
Yeah, because you think about axe murderers.
Continue.
Yeah. So it was like... I also think that everybody's kind of missing the point on this, where it's like... I'm not sitting around just being like, man... That fucking Roman Empire, man. I do that with Egypt. Egypt, I'm like, how the fuck and I'll just sit and be like, man, this is the foundation of that. And like, I don't know how they built it. And those stones are from 600 miles away. And I will sit and just think about how the fuck they did that or why they did that forever. I don't do that with the Roman Empire. I do think about it a lot because it pops up in my brain because it's fucking everywhere still to this day in modern society. There's examples of Roman, advances and Roman culture and everything, government, architecture, Western society, Catholicism, like basically everything. If you grew up in America as a Catholic or a Christian, you run into stuff with the Roman Empire every single day. So I don't think about it like pining about it or like pondering, like just sitting and thinking about the way I do with the Egyptians that are such a mystery to me. But like I'm aware of them and they pop up all the time. So I feel like the girls are like, people think we're just sitting around and thinking about the Roman Empire. And it's just like, well, how do you not think about it? Just like you see things and it's like, well, they did that. Yeah. And then you move on.
Well, let's get into it.
I'm guessing you don't think about it at all.
I don't think about it whatsoever.
I'm going to change that today.
Never. All right. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good. Well,
yeah.
Maybe. I need to think about other things besides the Bears.
Yep.
Before we get into it, though, I do want to talk about RHOBACK. RHOBACK Activewear. I'm wearing the hoodie right now, the performance hoodie. This thing is comfortable. It's soft. I'm ready to do calisthenics. I'm ready to go to a dinner. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to shoot golf. I'm ready to do whatever.
It is the most versatile hoodie I've ever seen.
It's
and
great.
It looks nice.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Like you said, you could go, it's one swoop. You can go from, playing golf to being like, I got to get to dinner real quick.
Yep.
It's great. So they're soft, they're stretchy. And you guys will be living in them this fall if you go buy them. They also have the performance crew necks ready for both men and women. They're breathable yet so comfortable and soft, and they're perfect for a crisp fall morning while you're on the move or having a relaxing weekend. And finally, the RHOBACK joggers. Can't say enough about them.
I mean, WSD is a walking billboard for them.
Yeah,
he wears them all the time.
Yeah, they're great. I love them too. They're made to move in and are incredibly comfortable. Odds are at least one of them are wearing them at this time. Somehow, we still have a semblance of summer here. So I'm still wearing shorts, but I can't wait to switch over to RHOBACK jogger season.
That's what I was going to say about that hoodie. This is like that time of year where you might have a 50-degree morning while you're walking the dog, and it might be 75 by the when you're walking home in the afternoon. that hoodie, like, you're comfortable in either temperature. So
100%.
It's perfect for that.
So kick your fall off right. Use code DOG on RHOBACK.com for 20% off your first purchase through the end of this week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance hoodies, crew necks, joggers, and more with code DOG. Go do it. All right, where are we starting?
We're starting the place that I think about the Roman Empire the most, and this is something that, like, my sisters used to, like, make fun of me. It used to be like a running joke because I just brought this up in conversation on, like, a car trip when I was 15 or something. But I love Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano. You ever had it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Duh, right?
I have.
Everybody's had Parmigiano Reggiano, and Pecorino cheese as well, like the classic, like, Italian hard cheeses, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reason that those became so popular and prevalent in Rome and around the world is because, they had this Roman Empire, right? The Roman Empire was fucking enormous. It was 2.3 million square miles at one point. It stretched from northern England all the way to Iraq and everywhere in between in the Mediterranean. That was the Roman Empire. And in order to conquer all those places, you need to have a pretty big army. So there's people that say that the Roman Empire at its peak was as many as 500,000 troops, which by standards back then was fucking enormous. And if you're attacking people in Iraq and you're attacking people in England, France, Gaul, etc., the most difficult challenge in war is always supply lines. So, like, how do you keep all these troops fed? And so you just keep marching along. It's very difficult. If your home base is in Rome, in Italy, how do you get something up to people in England? Well, they didn't. So what they would do is they'd come through and they'd destroy this village and they'd kill everybody and everything, but they'd keep the cows, the sheep, and the goats. And they would make all the Roman soldiers, you can see it in pictures and stuff still, like ancient, sketchworks and stuff, and they would depict them as making cheese. So they would conquer a village, get the dairy from the cows, and make their own cheeses. And they would make these hard types of cheeses because they're relatively light. Like, they would come in these massive wheels, but they're relatively light, super calorie dense. And those cheeses, unlike, a burrata or a soft cheese, they would last and stay edible for a long time. So you just put it in a pouch and continue on the next 100 miles up the road, kill somebody else. And that is why they became so popular, because they have it written down, being like every Roman soldier needs to have like 5 ounces of cheese a day. And that was like the staple part of their diet, because it traveled well and they knew the next stop along the road they would always be able to kill people and steal their cows and make cheese. So that's why the Roman Empire, that's where, like, both Parmesan and Pecorino, those became staples in our diet today, which comes from, like, the Italians, because that was the number one food source for Roman soldiers, the legionnaires.
Damn, fighting wars and they're ketogenic, huh?
How do you think they got so fucking ripped?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. And that was like, well, we'll get into the next one too. This one is like one that's specific to me, but then as soon as I start thinking about the legionnaires, I think about that Celtic Holocaust. So this was subject number 2. Dan Carlin, you ever heard of him?
Yeah, Hardcore History?
Yeah, and I've definitely mentioned him on this show before too. I feel like he doesn't do any things anymore. He comes out with like one show every 6 months.
Yeah, but don't his shows take a lot of effort?
Massive.
Yeah.
So like this one was 6 hours of audio. I don't know how he does it. Have you ever listened to one?
Mm-mm.
It's just him sitting, talking. And it's like, if you've ever tried to cut an ad where you're like read something from a script, which I assume he's doing largely doing it off of a teleprompter or a script while he's reading this through. But if like, I didn't like the way I said that, so back it up, cut that part, but only back it up. Like, it must be like the most labor intensive process ever.
Oh, sure.
So his World War I one was 24 hours long. It's fucking insane. 6 4-hour episodes. And this one he did in the Celtic Holocaust was 6 hours long, a little over 6 hours long. And that's Julius Caesar. You've heard of Julius Caesar, right?
Of course.
So he was the Roman Empire, and these wars lasted from 58 BC to 50 BC. So you're, kind of like the growth and the peak of the Roman Empire here. And he describes it in that podcast as, all right, here, imagine like, because Rome was like the center of the world, right? They had better technology, they had better more people, more sophistication, all of that. So imagine American colonialists, right? Like the British, and they're fighting natives, the Native Americans. That's what was going on when the Romans conquered basically all of Europe. But it was imagine all the Native American tribes here were unified as one fighting force. That's what they had. That's what Rome was going up against. They somehow they had these great leaders in Gaul, and so it was France, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium. All these people were like these historically these warring tribes. They all unified to fight against the Romans, and they still beat them. So in Julius Caesar's personal accounts, which these numbers are disputed, he says they had 1 million killed, 1 million enslaved, and then they destroyed 800 villages. So they just gnawing on cheese, climbing their way all the way up to the English Channel, all the way up to Belgium. Killed 1 million people in battle, according to Julius Caesar. So if you're thinking way back then, how you have to you have to do the donkeys, you have to get the horses, you have to get all these people, and you're fighting this the most robust kind of like a militia almost, not like a formal united, they were united, but it wasn't an army. It was if you watch the movie Gladiator. You've seen the movie Gladiator?
Yeah.
That opening scene. Mm-hmm. They got those guys that was supposed to be Germans, but they're all part of this Germany, Gaul, all these barbarians, okay? But they weren't barbarians. It was just that's what that's what the Romans called anybody that they would fight. And those people over there, barbarians. So they attacked all these people. It was an 8-year-long war where they killed 1 million and enslaved another 1 million. And that was the foundation for the Roman conquest of Europe, and how we got all of our Western ideas are born out of that. And the reason that the architecture in England and here and France and all these places, they all look very similar. All these government buildings look very similar to what they had in Rome, is because Rome came in and through all of the Gallic, Celtic culture and ideas and language, and just fucking got rid of it because they just murdered everybody. And that allowed them to really have instead of having all these different tribes and all these many different languages, it really became Latin, Roman ideas, culture, almost a unified European identity, as opposed to 1 million different things. And it got fractured obviously when Rome fell, but a lot of those values still, Christianity, still persisted, and it was because the Roman Empire's expanse went forever, and it went forever because they invented fucking roads. Did you know that?
Nope.
So the highway system, we talked about Eisenhower doing the highways here, all that, how important that is. They came up with a system of building roads, and a lot of those roads are still intact today. So people are man, we can't we're doing construction on the Kennedy again, backed up forever. None of the roads here ever last. The Roman Empire roads still last. You can still find them because they're so intricately built. They had they would dredge it all out, and this is so I talked about the cheese and the supply lines. Well, it was very difficult to get horses and shit up through the woods and the Alps and Germany and France, all these Switzerland, these crazy mountains. So they just had highly sophisticated engineers, and they built these roads where they clear out the forest, and then they dig out all the way down to not quite the bedrock, fill it in with large stones and smaller stones on top of that, then sand and clay, and then they had a paving system. So they had and then they had this other dirt surface over the top where they would have these horses and donkeys, and they would dump the shit out, and then they had basically a steamroller powered by horses. So they would just smooth it all out. And then they even had a drainage system. So they would kind of curve it the way roads are today. Instead of just having one flat surface, they're kind of rounded off. Mm-hmm. So all the rainwater would fall off. They had ditches, and then they had wider ditches. And the reason they had wider ditches, way wide of the road, is because if you're going to be on that road, you had to come on through the toll. So you couldn't just pick up the road anywhere and go. They made it so you couldn't get like from your village through the woods onto the road. If you're taking a cart or anything on that road, you had to pay the toll. So they came up with basically the highway system. And they had like this unbelievable engineering way back then. And think about like there are places today still don't have roads. We don't have good roads here in America. It's like an infrastructure problem. Still don't have roads. And they were able to build it starting from Rome, going from Iraq all the way to England and everywhere in between. They were able to build and construct these roads. And in many places, they still exist.
Picturing horses with a bulldozer behind them is crazy.
Crazy. And like they kind of invented cement. So like that was like they have these incredible structures, and they just knew how to make building materials. Yeah, just have these horses with the carts, and they had these specific carts that had like a dump truck basically on the back. And then you have this big rock that they smoothed out, and they would drag that. That was like the last step to smooth out the road. And they would like built a highway system across Europe. That always blew my mind. So that's what I mean when I'm like, I'm out on the highway. Sometimes I just think about the Romans. Like they did all like, think of how long that stretch of Kennedy. They're like, it's going to take us 4 years to build this. They did a lot quicker than that.
Yeah, that's pretty unbelievable.
Now they did have slaves.
Yeah,
that
so
helps.
People working around the clock.
Yep. And if they die, who cares?
No breaks, and they just keep rolling. So.
Yeah. No unions back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what happens. You take over. You have this Celtic Holocaust. You pick up 1 million slaves. You put them to work using the roads.
Hey, let's take another break here, Chief, because I want to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com and specifically Bears fans today. Barstool and ChevyDriveChicago.com wanted to give you a chance to enter to win a VIP game watch experience with the Barstool Chicago team. You and a friend can get a chance to watch the Bears versus Kansas City game this Sunday, September 24th at Cody's Public House.
The best.
In Lakeview.
I love Cody's.
It's an awesome bar. It's on
our kind of vibe. Yep.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys,
it's a neighborhood bar. They got a great patio. Look, we're at the point of the season where if you're going to watch the Bears, the vibes have to be right. Cody's has the best possible vibe. So if you're going to turn the season around, that's the place to do it.
Yep. All you got to do, like I said, is go to ChevyDriveChicago.com to enter to win. While you're there, take a look at the new truck lineup, and remember, it's time to drive with Justin Fields drives, and hop in on the action. Go look at that whole fleet, and join us at Cody's. We need all the morale shifters we can, like Chief just said. So come on out, enter that contest. We'd really appreciate it if you do, and go check out that fleet.
Come to Cody's.
Yes, come to Cody's.
Cody's.
All right, let's check out
the Roman Empire. They also had running water. Do you know that?
Nope.
They invented like this aqueduct system, and those aqueducts, like the structure, it's not in use, but it probably could be because structures in many places are still standing. So as Rome...
And I think, too, sorry to cut you off. I think, too, here, it's something you have to go back to and really think about, is we're talking BC.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking...
That's, like, the other thing, too, though. Like, the Roman Empire. Like, we think about, like George Washington, right? It's, like, 250 years ago. The Roman Empire, when the Council of Nicaea happened, and then we'll get to that later... It was like 324 or something. It had already been around for 400 years. You know, like this is 400 years before the Council of Nicaea. So like their stretch in power in Europe lasted for like, I feel it's like, I'd have to look up the founding of Rome and when they got hyper aggressive conquering everybody, but like thousands of years, like 1,000 years. So to go that long and be in power for that long, like I have a hard time imagining 300 years from now, people knowing like Joe Biden or Obama or maybe Trump his name will be memorable because he's so crazy, but like something from our culture just being everywhere in the world 300 years from now seems not very plausible. Mm-hmm. But their empire lasted a long time, and then their ideas still are around. Like they're like I said, you can't escape it. There's fucking Roman influences everywhere. So if you have eyeballs and you know about them, like they just pop in your head. So hence this whole thing. And then they had the running water. There are places like Flint, Michigan. They don't have good running water now. Okay. Like that's like a big controversy that they haven't been able to have clean drinking water for forever. And you hear about like the Roman bathhouse. You're a big bathhouse guy.
Oh yeah.
You would have loved it in Rome. There are bathhouses everywhere. And that's where like politics got done. Like they had like their legislator and their formal practices and all that. But then they also had like people just lounging, chatting, doing things in bathhouses. Like they had so much money that from conquering and pillaging and everything that they were able to construct these aqueducts. The longest aqueduct ever was actually in Constantinople, but it was 426 kilometers. So, you know, hundreds of miles from a water source, and they just basically use gravity. So you have this reservoir and it just goes in like little by little by little, flowing down from the original source in the mountains into the city, collects in a reservoir, and then it's there for the whole city to use for irrigation, for plumbing. They had like, you know, they had like some rudimentary forms of plumbing to like have toilets and shit in Rome. They didn't have, then the Roman Empire fell, and they didn't have like consistent running water anywhere in the world until like the Industrial Revolution. So we had like a 2,000 year run almost of, we had this technology, the Roman Empire fell, nobody had running water again for 2,000 years or 1,500 years.
That's bananas.
That's fucking crazy. Things just get like lost to time.
And this is all like rock solid, huh? Like this happened.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No,
Sometimes
this is, you can go look at them. You Google aqueducts in Rome. Like you'll see like the big archway structure. Like they absolutely had running water.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There we go.
You ever seen that picture before?
That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. These are your people.
Yeah. No, I never been out. Never been there.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe someday.
I was supposed to go, but that trip got canceled during COVID. My cousin was going to get married in Venice. Still don't have it. The fifth one, and this is like, we talk about like democracy and stuff all the time, and they had a Senate, but this is more like a religious one. There's like a quote in the Bible: "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's." So that was a quote from Jesus in the Bible, and that really is kind of like the foundation of Western thought. And like, everyone's supposed to be like subservient to like an ideal. So like, yeah, you're going to have to pay your taxes. You're going to have to be subservient to the government, but everyone is striving towards an ideal. And it's like, that is one of the reasons why they think that "In God We Trust" is on currency today. Because even though like that is Caesar's, even with that dollar, even when the government collects it, they're supposed to be, you know, have authority to, or like be subservient to God, to a higher ideal. So you're always striving towards something. But like, that is like, don't compromise your soul for the state. Like, you're always supposed to maintain your individuality and your own morals and everything like that. And then that's yours, that's God's, and everything else belongs to Caesar. So if they tax you, that's part of the deal. Like, you pay your taxes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's like, you know, a very fundamental thought that came out of the Roman Empire. It came from Christianity, which was solidified once and for all by the Roman Empire. And we've talked about that will be like the last one, but the Council of Nicaea, like, you've been to church, Nicene Creed. Mm-hmm. That's what like just states everything that they believe. That's from the Council of Nicaea. They had two different councils, and they had like all these warring factions of Christians and like, what do we believe? What, you know, this, that, and the other. Christianity had been illegal for 300 years. You had to practice your faith like in hiding. There's always the legends that they would feed Christians. You capture them practicing, you just feed them to the lions in the Colosseum for the gladiators, and that was like a thing. So like then in like 310, the Caesar at the time legalized it. 10 years later, he converted on his deathbed, and that's when they came up with like the Council of Nicaea to be like, all right, we have to have like one faith, one book that we can all believe in or abide by. And they had all these different priests and, you know, Christian leaders from the time come in. Our guy Santa Claus was there, like literally Saint Nick, and they compiled the book. And then because they had that network of how big the Roman Empire was, and they had the network of roads, so you can send ideas just as quickly as you can send supplies on that network of roads. And that's when Christianity, boom, went crazy all over the Roman Empire, and is still the predominant religion of the West today, is because in 324, 325, when they settled on, this is what we believe, this is the Bible, they had already built the infrastructure to spread those ideas all across Europe. And then even when the Roman Empire fell, it was instantiated in those different cultures and in those different regions that it became the dominant religion for 2,000 years. So all because they built like that network of roads, which is wild.
Yeah, that is.
Without those roads, you're probably not spreading those ideas as quickly. But they already had them, so they did it. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's just you need one thing to do the other, and it was it was a long-term play.
I suppose, but they built the road before they even knew, before Jesus too. So it was just like a perfect storm of infrastructure, ideas, location, all that stuff that fundamentally changed the world forever.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
That is wild.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Roman numerals.
We know a little bit about those.
XX, Super Bowl 20.
Yep.
That was a good one. But like that's another thing where like I feel like the Roman numerals, no one uses them, in math because they're like hard, but they'll use it for like formal things. You ever watch the show Veep?
I'm aware of it,
okay.
But I've never got into it.
Well, like do you know what the numbers are that we use, where they're from?
What?
Middle East. They're like Arabic numerals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was like this joke where it was like this guy, he was running for president. He was a bigot. He's like, we have to ban Muslim math. Like we can't be teaching these kids Muslim, like using those numbers, because it was like the height of like the war on terror and everything. We can't, like, let's ban Muslim math. And it was just like literally like how we write numbers. It was kind of funny. You should watch that show. It's a great show.
Funny. Yeah, I know. It gets high praise.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of it. We did actually. That was a 7th.
Gets a little confusing after the 1, 2, 3.
How so?
Well, obviously you got the V. It's 5.
The numbers. I thought you meant the points.
No.
No, I think that's why they got rid of it, because it's just like, wait, what if we have to do like 36 minus 15? You're just like, they all look the same, just V's and X's and lines.
Yeah, but to you, this is not nearly as interesting as Egypt.
I don't think so. No, I think Egypt is just more of a mystery.
Yeah,
because those pyramids, they don't make any goddamn sense.
I like that. I saw like a tweet the other day, and it was like, "Hey, I'm gonna pull it up so I don't fuck it up." But it was something along the lines of, "Why don't people build like wonders of the world anymore?" Did you see that?
I haven't seen that, but I actually think about that all the time too.
Really?
And I think Dante might have written a blog about this maybe 6 months ago. But it is like we went through a period where in like the 70s where we just stopped building like nice looking things. Like everything was kind of, I don't know what you call it, but it was just like, it was more about function. What do they say that? Form over function is when something's beautiful without necessarily an intention.
Yeah.
This was all function over form. So it's like, we need a building. Should we make it nice? Nah, just 4 walls and some concrete and throw it up. And where you look at what was happening in the Middle Ages, they would spend, there's a church in Spain that they've been building it. They're still not done. They've been building it for 500 years. Because it's like, this is important. We're going to dedicate our lives to making this.
That's crazy.
Immense sculpture or immense.
When's it supposed to be done?
I have to look it up. Give me one second.
The tweet was, "Why did human beings stop building wonders?" And I saw Coach Doug's quote to it. He said, "We didn't," and it was a picture of Florida State's stadium.
That's a good one. So it's the Basilica Temple Expiatory de la Sagrada Familia. So Sagrada Familia is the name of it, and it is still under construction. It has been, let's pull it up here,
for a long time. What's your take about things that just are never going to get done, or like you're not going to see it through? Did you hear about that John Malkovich movie?
No.
John Malkovich has a movie. I'm trying to pull it up right now. That comes out in 2115.
How the fuck does John Malkovich have a movie that's coming out in 2015?
So it's called 100 Years, and it's an upcoming experimental science fiction film written by John Malkovich, directed by Robert Rodriguez. It's produced by the French company Remy Martin to promote their cognac, Louis XIII. So it's kind of like an advertising thing, but still, it's not going to... pending release, the film is being kept in a high-tech safe behind bulletproof glass and will open automatically on November 18th, 2115, the day of the film's premiere. 1,000 guests from around the world, including Malkovich and Rodriguez, have received a pair of invitation tickets made of metal for the premiere, which they can hand down to their descendants.
This is so fucking stupid.
It's crazy.
Because, like, who knows... whatever. There'll be updated technology or whatever, but, like... Even that, what was it called, Boy? I never saw it, but it was like they filmed that kid.
Boyhood or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But they filmed over, 20 years, 15 years, something like that? Or they tracked the kid's, like, entire life. That makes more sense. Like, that's kind of, like, an interesting... Not interesting enough for me to go see it, apparently, but, like, the concept is interesting. As far as, like, building things that take forever, like that church, as long as it's awesome. Like,
yeah.
you know, like that Malkovich movie better bring home everything. You can't make something for 100. Also, like, he's not making it. So what's the continuation? You got to have like 4 generations of people, like, dedicating their lives to making it your vision.
Yeah, I mean, he turned 70 this year.
Yeah. So he could drop dead at any moment.
But this is like, I wonder how much he got paid for this. I mean, they did this so people like us talk about it. You know, whoever gets more promotion, because, like I said, it's Louis is like one of the most expensive alcohols there is, and it's like I remember seeing that Brad Pitt, or who was it? It might have been Leo. You know, he's very precise and he's very selective. Is the correct word I was looking for
his roles.
For his roles, and him and Clooney, I think it was, did like a 25-minute movie. About Macau and like the gambling industry, and it was basically just like it
looked awesome. Like, I've never been there. I don't know. I've never heard of that, but I did see an Anthony Bourdain episode back in the day of Macau, where it's just like, it's not like Vegas. It's like it's way more intense.
Yeah. So Macau's like, obviously I love to gamble, so Macau's always kind of been like on my list. But then I have a friend who went,
isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Macau's an island.
Then I have a friend who went there, and he said it was not great.
Really?
Yeah, he said it was not great.
It is an island, so it's kind of like a Hong Kong. Why did he say it wasn't great?
Said it was. I believe he said it was a little dirty, and it wasn't like the Vegas vibes that you think. Like, it wasn't like obviously the buildings were beautiful. Like, there's a Wynn over there. There's Sheldon Anderson, I think his name is.
I think the guy Donnie does, where he goes into the Pacquiao fight. I think that was in Macau.
In Macau,
I'm pretty sure.
Like, where the Venetian guy, he's got a property there. Like, there are beautiful buildings, but from what I understand, it's not all the glitz and the glam. It's just people that are there that are serious gamblers. Yeah, and they're just hitting
like they're not going to see Celine Dion at night.
Yes, that's what he said. But I don't know. Yeah, so this is called, it's a 2015 comedy short film directed by Martin Scorsese. It's got De Niro and DiCaprio, excuse me. Brad Pitt is also in it as well. And it's a 16-minute movie that had a $70 million budget.
How do you spend $70 million on 16 minutes?
I think a lot of it was towards the actors. Yeah, with the films, each actor was reportedly paid $13 million for less than 2 days of work.
Must be nice. They must have been like, hey, we're doing, what's that? Summer Moon. What's that movie coming out?
Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Flowers of the Killer Moon. Yeah. They're all in that too. Is Brad Pitt involved in that? I know the other 3 are.
I don't think he is.
I wonder if they just had a few days off and like, hey, you want to make a quick buck?
Yeah. Well, this was in 2015.
Okay.
So
it's out?
It's a while. Oh, yeah, it's out.
Oh, okay.
Kind of want to go watch it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. But yeah, it was. It's a short. Was created to promote Studio City, a hotel casino resort located in Macau.
That was probably so the Chinese government just paid those guys a bag to make them look good.
Essentially, yes. Yeah. Kind of interesting though, how that shit works.
Yeah. Well, that's like a big thing in the movie industry now too.
Oh, like just promotional films.
Well, where like China has, like, that was the thing with Top Gun. Like they were supposed to be fighting. I think they were like bad. Like Tom Cruise had like the certain flags on his jacket, and we're like, we can't have that. Or like this is a war against China. Like we don't want any of this U.S. propaganda. So they pulled their funding, and Tom Cruise was like, fine, like I'm not changing fucking anything. This is our movie, and they're like, well, we're not going to show it in China, and he's like, I don't care about that either, and they still made a gazillion dollars.
Yep.
So. But that was like a big fear because a lot of these movies where they're like, we have to cover our budget. We can't cover it if we're only in the West and in the United States. We can make up the difference in China. So they would always play ball with China. Tom Cruise was like, I'm not changing that for you guys. Fuck you guys. And he won effectively because that movie makes so much money. I was watching, reading that, when I say reading, I'm listening to that book. I told you about this on a different show. The Fourth Turning, and I'm in a part of the book right now where he's talking about how it is kind of like people are starting to reject like this corporate kind of bullshit where it's all the same, like just sequels, and then the third one, the fourth one, they're all within a series. And then like this year, the two highest grossing movies really broke from the franchise model, is Oppenheimer and Barbie, where like the big ones, and they're like, it was kind of an indication that we're maybe like the society is kind of starting to be like, no, like we want original good stories and shit as opposed to just this commercially produced conveyor belt of things that we know.
I think Disney's already said they're like going to cut back on their Star Wars and their Marvel.
Good.
So I don't know if that means that they're going to replace it with original content, but they did say. But
they'll
also
probably just cut back and not replace with anything.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like they've realized that they've also kind of gotten sloppy with them, from what I understand. Like they're kind of just putting out shit, and people are starting to get fed up. And then if you put out a bad product, people are going to stop watching it. So even though if they're two most diehard loyal fan bases, it sounds like they're kind of adjusting. So we'll see what that means. But I don't know.
We will see. I hope it is, because we've lamented that on this show many times, where it's like they don't make comedies anymore, they don't make fucking anything anymore. It's all about just something, you plug it into an algorithm and be like, we know we can make $500 million with Spider-Man 7, so we're just going to do that.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
Yeah.
All right, though. We could wrap it here. Thanks, Chief. Roman Empire. If you're a lady listener out there, you now know why your man.
Yeah, it's fucking everywhere. Why aren't they? Why aren't they thinking about it?
Yeah, I probably still won't think about it.
It's not weird. You won't think about it. I bet you next time you're
more.
Sprinkling some Parmesan Reggiano over your pasta, you'll think about it. It'll pop in your brain, and you'll be like, "Do you know why this exists?"
I'll treat you if I do.
Please do.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Free swim tomorrow. Tune on in. We will see you there.